Margaret froze when Arthur's hand gripped her wrist tighter than she'd ever felt from the old dry cleaner. His voice rasped low, like gravel dragged across concrete. "Take the children and leave this town before sunrise." She blinked at him, heart rattling in her chest. "What are you talking about?" Arthur's trembling fingers pulled open a drawer beneath the counter. From it, he withdrew a small plastic bag. Inside lay a single folded receipt with a red-stamped transfer of millions, and a photograph. Margaret's throat closed as she saw the faces of her grandchildren, Lily and Noah, both smiling in school portraits. But red marker circled their faces, heavy, angry strokes that felt like curses carved on paper. Margaret stumbled back, her voice cracking. "Arthur, what is this?" "I don't know who she's dealing with, but your daughter-in-law is tied to something rotten," Arthur whispered. His old eyes brimmed with panic. "I couldn't keep this here. I can't risk it. Get them out, Margaret. Tonight. Don't ask me questions, just go." Her fingers shook as she shoved the bag deep into her coat pocket, the plastic crinkling like a warning bell. Outside, the world seemed too normal, the laughter of kids on the street, a bus screeching to a stop, the smell of roasted peanuts from a vendor drifting past. None of it matched the pounding in her veins. At home, the house felt wrong. Too still. Too heavy. Ben was away on business in Chicago. It was only her, the children, and Chloe, who had sent a brief text not long before. "Late meeting. Watch the kids for me. Thanks." Margaret stared at the glowing words, her palms damp. Was Chloe at a meeting, or covering tracks? In the living room, Lily was building a tower from blocks, her big brown eyes lit with pride. "Grandma, look. Mine's taller than me." Noah, just 4, hummed nonsense while pushing his toy car across the rug. Their innocence twisted something deep in Margaret's chest. She forced a smile, stroked Lily's hair, and said softly, "It's beautiful, sweetheart." But her mind echoed with Arthur's desperate whisper. "Before sunrise." She locked herself in her room and called the one person she trusted without hesitation, Grace, her lifelong friend. "Grace, I need help. A car. Tonight." Quiet. There was a pause. Grace heard the fear she couldn't hide. "My brother can drive you. He won't ask questions." 10 minutes. Margaret's relief nearly broke her. She packed on autopilot, bread, cheese, cookies, water bottles, sweaters, Noah's dinosaur pajamas, Lily's yarn doll, the toy car. Everything felt rushed, messy, unfinished, but time wasn't hers anymore. When the cab arrived, she woke the children gently. "We're going for a night ride." Lily tilted her head. "Where to, Grandma?" Margaret forced a light laugh. "Someplace fun. But we have to hurry." She bribed sleepy Noah with candy, bundled them both into coats, and carried the suitcase out into the cold night. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror as she buckled the kids in. "Where you headed?" "The bus station," she said firmly. "Fast." The hum of the engine drowned out her thoughts as the house faded behind her, shrinking into darkness. The station buzzed with midnight chaos, vendors calling, neon signs flickering, strangers hauling luggage. That noise felt like safety. She clutched Noah on her shoulder, held Lily's hand, and bought 3 tickets to Charleston. When the bus pulled away, Margaret sat rigid, staring at the plastic bag she still carried. She thought of her son. Should she call Ben and tell him? Could she destroy his marriage with a suspicion, a photograph, and a receipt she didn't understand? Charleston greeted them at dawn. She led the children to a motel, tucked them into the musty bed, and sat by the window with the cursed bag on her lap. Her heart ached at Lily's half-asleep question, "Grandma, where's Mommy?" Margaret couldn't answer. Instead, she whispered to the shadows, "Lord, give me strength." She thought of Father Thomas, the priest who had guided her through her husband's death, the one man who would know what to do. Tomorrow she would go to him. But tonight, as her grandchildren slept, Margaret sat in the silence of that dim motel room, staring at the red circles drawn around their faces, and understood one thing with searing clarity: Chloe was no longer just her daughter-in-law. She was a threat. "Father Thomas," I whispered, clutching the folded plastic bag like it was poison, "please, tell me what to do." The old priest's face grew solemn as he studied the papers spread before him in the small chamber behind the altar. The flickering light of a single candle made his white hair glow. His fingers rested on the photo of Lily and Noah, their innocent faces encircled in harsh red ink. The weight of silence pressed down until he finally exhaled, slow and heavy. "Margaret," he said, his voice low but firm, "this isn't something the church alone can protect you from. This reaches beyond faith and family. You need the law on your side." My heart clenched. "The law? You mean the police?" He shook his head, then glanced toward the door as though wary of shadows. "I know someone I trust. Victoria. A lawyer. Sharp, capable, and discreet. She'll help you see clearly what you're holding." Hours later, Victoria sat across from me in the dim confessional office, her laptop open, her sharp eyes narrowing as she slipped on latex gloves and carefully unfolded the receipt Arthur had given me. She typed swiftly, her face illuminated by the glow of the screen. "This transfer," she muttered, "is tied to a ghost company. Offshore accounts. Fake addresses. No legitimate business." Her eyes flicked to me before pointing at the signature at the bottom. "Julian Cortez. You've heard that name." I shook my head, but Father Thomas went rigid, his brows knitting together. "That man's name has circled whispers of fraud for years," he said darkly. Victoria closed the laptop with a snap. "This isn't just suspicious, Margaret. This is organized crime. And your grandchildren are marked in that photo for a reason." Her words knocked the air from my lungs. "But why Lily and Noah? What could they want with them?" She didn't answer. She only gave me a look, sharp, almost pitying. "First, we keep them safe. Then, we dig." The next morning, I left the children with Grace at her modest house on the edge of Charleston. Through the wooden fence, I watched Lily blow bubbles into the sunlight while Noah laughed, chasing them barefoot through the grass. My chest ached. All I prayed for was that this moment of joy could last forever. "Grace," I said carefully, "can you watch them for a day? I need to go back, to face something." Her eyes narrowed, but she only nodded. "You know I'll keep them safe. Go do what you need to do, Margaret." So I boarded the first bus back to my town, that cursed house waiting like a trap. With every mile, my heart pounded harder. When I reached the front gate, the silence of the street felt menacing. Unlocking the door, I stepped into a place that no longer felt like home. Chloe's coffee mug sat abandoned on the table, the foam dried to brown crust. Her blanket was tossed on the couch, careless and warm, as if she had just walked out. The air was heavy. I went straight for the closet in her bedroom, kneeling in front of the small gray safe Ben had once installed. The code, her wedding date, spilled from my memory like a curse. My fingers shook as I twisted the lock. Click. Inside, stacks of cash, thick and green, enough to choke a lifetime of honesty. Passports with false names. Burners' phones, sealed and waiting. And then, the tickets. 3 business-class seats from Chicago to Madrid. Chloe's name. Lily's. Noah's. No mention of Ben. I sank to the floor, my breath coming in broken gasps. My daughter-in-law, the woman I had embraced like blood, was planning to vanish with my grandchildren and another man. A photo slipped from an envelope, Chloe radiant beside a stranger in a sharp suit. On the back, my Cortez. Julian Cortez. The room tilted. My knees threatened to give out. I stuffed everything back, my heart hammering like a criminal's, when the rumble of Mr. Henderson's truck rolled down the street. Panic jolted me into motion. I shoved the safe closed, pocketed an envelope stamped with a foreign bank's logo I found in the trash, and fled. Back in Charleston, I tucked Lily and Noah into the motel bed. Lily's tangled hair framed her round face. "Grandma," she murmured drowsily, "when are we going home to Mommy?" Her words carved through me. I stroked her hair, lying through my teeth. "Soon, sweetheart. She's busy, but soon." That afternoon Victoria returned, this time with two men in plain clothes. Agents Miller and Davis, federal investigators. They laid their badges on the table and spread the evidence out like surgeons preparing for a grim operation. Davis connected one of the burner phones. Data poured onto his laptop. The first image was the same photo, Lily and Noah, circled in red. Agent Miller's voice dropped to a grave whisper. "That mark isn't random. It's a code used in trafficking. The red circle means target selected." The word hit me like lightning. Trafficking. "No," I whispered, clutching the table. "You're saying Chloe planned to sell them?" Victoria put her hand on mine, her jaw tight. "Margaret, I'm so sorry." More files appeared, messages, short and cruel. "Two targets selected. Ensure timely delivery. Signed J.C. Julian Cortez." The room spun. My heart shriveled. The woman who married my son, who once cried on my shoulder, had chosen to treat Lily and Noah as merchandise. Miller spoke calmly, like a doctor delivering a diagnosis. "You must act normal. Don't alert Chloe. We'll build the case and bring her down." That night, I cradled Noah as he begged for the story about the vampire. Lily hummed a tune while coloring, her innocence breaking me in half. Outside, thunder crashed and rain hammered the motel roof like the pulse of the nightmare pressing in. The following morning, a black federal car pulled up outside. Victoria had called earlier, "Be ready." I kissed Lily and Noah's foreheads. "I'll be back soon, my loves. Be good for Grace." At the hidden federal office, the smell of stale coffee clung to the walls. Victoria sat with Miller, Davis, and a new face, Agent Hayes, stern but warm. "This isn't just fraud," Miller said gravely. "It's an international ring. We need your cooperation to trap Chloe and Cortez." They showed me a map dotted with pins. "We'll stage a disappearance. Make Chloe panic. Every word she says, every call she makes, we'll record. Then we'll have her." I swallowed hard, staring at the faces of my grandchildren in the photo still haunting me. My voice broke. "Promise me Lily and Noah will be safe." Hayes leaned close, steadying me with her gaze. "They'll be guarded. You can call them whenever you need. But we can't stop now. We have to finish this." I nodded, my whole body trembling. I knew this was no longer about Chloe alone. It was about saving my grandchildren, and destroying whatever hellish web she and Julian Cortez were tangled in. "I'll treat them like my own." Grace's voice was steady when she promised me that, her hand resting over mine. I pulled Lily and Noah into my arms, holding them so tightly their little ribs rose and fell against me. It felt like I was leaving half of my soul behind as I kissed their hair and whispered, "Be good, my darlings. Grandma loves you." That night, the motel room was silent except for the hum of the old air conditioner. Victoria sat across from me, her laptop glowing faintly, while Agent Davis checked the listening device on the table. My hands wouldn't stop trembling around the phone. We were waiting. And then, it buzzed. A text from Chloe. "Mom, where are you? Have you seen the kids? They're gone." I've called the police. I'm terrified. The words made my chest tighten. How could she lie so easily? How could she feign panic when she was the one who planned to take them? Davis caught my eye, shook his head firmly. Don't answer. Let her talk herself into the hole. Minutes crawled by. Then Chloe's voice crackled over the speaker, a phone call to an unlisted number. She sounded breathless, nervous. Cortez, the kids are gone. I had everything lined up, but I can't find them anywhere. A man's voice responded, sharp and irritated. Calm down. We can't back out. The tickets are bought, the buyer's waiting. If we don't deliver, we're finished. That word, deliver. He said it like they were boxes, not children. And then, merchandise. My stomach twisted. Lily's smile. Noah's giggle. Reduced to a transaction. I dug my nails into my palms, biting back the sob that clawed its way up my throat. Chloe's voice shook. If we don't find them, the whole deal collapses. You have to do something. Davis leaned back, lips curling in a bitter smile. Let it collapse. Every word she's saying is evidence. Victoria reached across the table, squeezed my icy hand. Margaret, you're almost there. You've already saved them. But her own voice cracked, betraying the weight of what we were all feeling. That night, the darkness outside the motel pressed close. Engines rumbled softly in the distance, federal vehicles idling like predators waiting to pounce. When I caught Victoria's eye, I realized we were pieces on a board, waiting for a move that would change everything. Later, I found myself inside a command van 2 blocks from a rundown hotel on Charleston's outskirts. The air reeked of stale coffee and gasoline. Agent Hayes adjusted her headset and glanced at me. Just listen. We'll do the rest. But how could I sit still when my heart hammered so loudly it felt like the walls of the van would rattle? Lily and Noah were safe at the police station, but my body trembled knowing what I was about to witness, the betrayal of a woman I once loved as a daughter. The radio buzzed with clipped commands. Alpha team in position. Bravo team covering the rear. Target approaching. Victoria touched my shoulder. It ends tonight, Margaret. You got the children out in time. Tears spilled before I could stop them. The right thing, I whispered, though doubt gnawed at me. Right never feels this painful. The live feed switched on. Chloe's voice came through, frantic. Cortez, what happens now? Without the kids, what are we negotiating? My chest burned. Negotiate. With her own children. Cortez's growl was low and cruel. Shut up. The intermediary's already waiting. If we don't bring the merchandise, we're done. Merchandise. Again. My hands shook so violently that Victoria had to press hers over mine to steady me. Then came Hayes's whisper into the radio, target entering the lot. Units, move. The audio filled with shouts. Hands up. Boots pounded pavement. Chloe screamed, shrill and terrified. No, this can't be happening. Cortez tried to bolt, but the order rang out, freeze. Down now. A thud, the scrape of asphalt, the metallic snap of cuffs. Chloe sobbed. You're wrong. I didn't do anything. But then came the clatter of her purse hitting the ground, bills spilling like leaves. An officer's voice was cold, decisive. Plenty of evidence says otherwise. Inside the van, my tears came harder. Victoria squeezed my hand. They're in custody. Lily and Noah are safe. Safe. The word should have soothed me, but my heart was splintered. I thought of the girl Chloe once was, sitting in my kitchen years ago, kneading dough with flour dusting her cheeks, dreaming aloud about opening a bakery. I thought she was mine. I thought she was family. That ghost was gone forever. The judge's gavel fell weeks later in a Charleston courtroom. Chloe in beige prison clothes sat hunched, her face hollow, her beauty stripped away by guilt and shame. Beside her, Cortez stared at the floor, shackled and silent. The prosecutor's voice was steady as he laid it out: money laundering, conspiracy, child trafficking. He displayed the evidence one by one: the transfer receipts, the forged passports, the tickets to Madrid with only Chloe, Lily, and Noah's names. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. But when the photo appeared, my grandchildren's faces circled in red ink, the room erupted. "My God," someone whispered. I pulled Lily and Noah against me, shielding their eyes. The recording of Chloe's voice sealed it. Without them, what are we going to negotiate with? Her defense attorney tried to plead victimhood, saying she was manipulated. But the prosecutor's rebuttal was swift. She called them leverage. She made the choice. The sentence came heavy and final: decades in prison for Chloe Lopez and Julian Cortez. Relief flooded me, but grief shadowed it. Noah tugged my sleeve, whispering, "Grandma, is Mommy going away on a trip?" I kissed his forehead, fighting the lump in my throat. "She's very busy, sweetheart. But Daddy and I are here." Outside, sunlight poured over the courthouse steps. Victoria's hand on my arm was steady. "You saved them, Margaret. You're their hero." But I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a woman holding together the broken remains of a family. Months passed. I rented a modest apartment near Charleston Square. Every morning, I walked Lily and Noah to school, their backpacks bouncing, their laughter echoing down the sidewalk. Slowly, life found a rhythm. One afternoon, while watering flowers on the balcony, a taxi pulled up. Ben stepped out, thinner than I remembered, his shoulders stooped under a worn travel bag. My heart clenched. I dropped the watering can and ran. "Ben," I cried, pulling him into my arms. "You're home." When Lily and Noah spotted him, they sprinted down the steps. "Daddy." They wrapped around his legs, their laughter cutting through months of sorrow. For the first time, Ben's eyes lit with something close to hope. That night, around the kitchen table, I served chili just the way he liked it as a boy. We ate, we listened to the children chatter, and for a few moments, it almost felt whole again. But later, when the kids went to their room, Ben's voice broke. "I suspected her, Mom," he admitted, pacing the small room. "The late nights, the money disappearing. But I kept telling myself I was imagining things. I thought keeping quiet was protecting them. Turns out I was the fool." I rose and took his hand, sharing his pain in silence. We both knew this wound would never vanish, but it wouldn't define us. Ben soon filed for divorce and custody. The court granted it, finally, something just. We became a family of 3 generations, stitched together by survival and love. On Sundays, we went to the park. Ben kicked a ball with Noah while Lily zipped around the fountain on her tricycle. I sat on the bench, coffee warming my hands, watching golden light fall through the trees. Peace, fragile but real, bloomed again. In our apartment, drawings filled the walls, stick figures holding hands under a red roof, with a bright sun overhead. Mommy wasn't there, but Lily's smile was. That had to be enough. Some nights, after the children were asleep, I'd write in my journal. "Today Lily drew our home. Noah said he wants to be a hero like Daddy. They don't know how close they came to being taken. They'll never know, if I can help it. The only marks I'll ever let touch their faces again are the ones made by crayons, not red pens." I still dream of Chloe sometimes, not the criminal in handcuffs, but the shy girl with daisies in her hand. I wake with tears, but I wipe them away. I listen to my grandchildren's laughter, to Ben's steady voice reading bedtime stories, and I remind myself, love survived. No betrayal, no darkness, no crime could take that from us. And when the bells of St. Francis ring each morning, I know one thing with certainty: I will never let fear silence me again. Because a family is not just preserved by love, it's defended by courage. And when faced with the most brutal kind of betrayal, courage is what makes sure the next sunrise belongs to the ones we love.